Hear ye, hear ye. Welcome to the Silly Fam. We are going to be talking about the Karen Read case. I have been absolutely disrupting chat with this case, with my rants, and so now we are going to memorialize my mama rant about this case in video format. Hopefully later a podcast. We'll see. So, this case has really drawn a lot of interest. And because I am someone who likes to follow a case, if I can, from the perspective of the jury, I've kind of stayed away from it. In fact, I wasn't even sure I was going to follow it because it struck me as one of those celebrity cases. I couldn't say why, for example, because it doesn't involve any actual celebrities, but it felt very reality TV. And for me, the justice system is never about a reality TV moment, so no, thanks. I would like to, see human beings. But this trial gets real interesting real fast. Not from the prosecution, but we'll get there. So, the case... Whoop. Everyone say hi to Belle. Belle's saying hi. Alright, so the case of Karen Read, the Commonwealth versus Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the case of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts versus Karen Read, the Commonwealth has accused Karen Read of getting drunk and intentionally killing her boyfriend, Officer John O'Keefe of the Boston PD, with her vehicle and leaving him to die in the snow. This happened in front of the house of Officer Brian Albert, also of the Boston PD, early on January 29th, 2022 in Canton, Massachusetts. So, originally the prosecutors in this charged this as an unintentional homicide, but upgraded the charges to intentional. The charges are second-degree murder, in which they have to prove that there was actual malice, manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle, which has to be proven as wanton or reckless conduct, and driving under the influence and failure to stop after a collision. So those are the three charges. Now, at this point, I am 14 days into this. We'll start at opening statements, don't worry. But I don't think we're getting there. Most trials are over at 14 days. And at 14 days into just the prosecution side, I don't even know if they have a case. I don't know why they brought this in front of a jury. This is insane. So, the shenanigans with this. So I'm coming into this and I'm watching the opening statements. I watch it with, if you want to watch it, it's awesome. Emily D. Baker coverage is amazing. I love her. And I came in watching the opening statements. And the opening statements, as Emily D. Baker and several of the attorneys here on YouTube have talked about, is meant to be a roadmap. It's supposed to be the prosecution saying who, what, when, where, and if they've got it, why. They don't need a why. You don't need a why. In the American criminal justice system, we have a guilty till prove, back that up, reverse. We have an innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt system. Okay. That means that if someone is arrested, that means nothing. They're still innocent. If someone is indicted, i.e. charged with a crime, still innocent. The only time somebody is guilty is if they take a guilty plea through a plea bargain or just confess to the crime and say, I plead guilty. Or if they go through the court system and are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. What's a reasonable doubt? A reasonable doubt is, everything can have doubts. Maybe people have doubts that the world is round, but that's not a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt, as the amazing Uncivil Law put it, is a doubt founded in reason. It means that after looking at all of the facts, you still don't believe that the prosecution has proven its case. But what about the defense? I hear you cry. Or I would. I assume you were crying about that. The defense does not have to prove anything. All it has to do is sit there if they want. In fact, the only responsibility that defense has is to be a vigorous advocate for their client. So if they think that the best path for their client is to sit there and do nothing for the entirety of the trial, that's what they can do. Because it is solely on the prosecution to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed the crime. So, let's go to opening statements. What are opening statements? Opening statements are a roadmap. They show where everybody is going to go. And if you watch the 45-minute opening statement by the prosecution, I beg you, on one viewing at 1x speed, to find out what their theory of the case is. I beg you to stay awake. Because here's the thing. If you look at the trial footage, you will see an older man in a red, white, and blue tracksuit behind the prosecution who is falling asleep. Now, look, we've all had those times where somebody's talking and we can't stay awake, doesn't matter how interesting they are, except that is the victim's father falling asleep at his son's murder trial. That is not his fault. I do not blame him. I sure as hell blame the prosecution. There is a man dead. A man who, at this point, they are saying should not be dead. They are saying that he was murdered. That his niece and nephew, that he took in after they were orphaned by their mother and then 2 months later orphaned by their father. 3 times orphaned. This man is a hero. This victim is a hero, and the prosecution cannot be bothered to lay out its case in clear, concise terms. You are saying this man was murdered, that this was an intentional crime. You need to be stepping up to the bat to prove it. That is the job of the prosecution. So, we get to opening statements. And I'm going to give you some of the interesting facts. But I'm going to give it to you as if I'm prosecutor lollygagging. Sorry, prosecutor lolly. The man who is sleeping through a murder trial he is trying on in court. Like, what the fuck? I can't say that. Oh well. Channel's so small at this point, it won't matter. But John O'Keefe, in November of 2015, his sister died of cancer. 2 months later, his brother-in-law Stephen died of a sudden heart attack. John moved into his niece 14, nephew 11's home to care for them. In 2018, they moved to another home in Canton, Michigan. Another home in Canton, Massachusetts. On January 28th, a big snowstorm was coming in, and they were celebrating that his niece and her close friend got into an important private school. You'll hear testimony from the children as to what they observed. Other things you'll become familiar with from matter. You'll hear testimony of smelling around his eyes. Testimony, I hit him, grass under his body. He was pronounced at around 7:15 a.m. Mrs. Roberts said she was going to harm herself. She was put into a psych hold. Firefighters state that she said she got into an argument early that night and he got out of the car, and you'll be able to see that his tail light is damaged. Wow. I was just reading my notes and I was already ready to fall asleep. That is nothing but problematic. I watched as two different attorneys completely missed when the prosecutor stated that the defendant sent amorous text messages to Brian Higgins. If you're like, why is that relevant? That's supposedly their motive. That's it. It was blown past. No focus was brought to it. Look, I have done public speaking. I have testified in front of legislators. I have spoken out for nonprofits to raise money for my college. I know public speaking, okay? I know how to talk in front of a microphone and make it concise. I'm not doing that really well right now, but it's been 10 years, so give me a break. We'll get there, okay? And this guy glosses over the motive. If people who are watching this, who can replay this, are missing the motive, what do you think is happening to the jury? If the father of the victim is falling asleep during your opening statement, what do you think is happening with the jury? But you know when they were listening? I guarantee it. After the prosecution ended their closing arguments, God, I wish. No, ended their opening statement. And the defense steps up. Karen Read was framed. Boy, howdy, we are all here for this. Suddenly, snapped heads, eyes in, nobody needs coffee anymore. What did you say happened? Karen Read was framed. And then he introduces himself. He states her car never struck John O'Keefe. What you will hear is about the well-known and well-connected Alberts family. You will see that because the Alberts were involved, because they had close connections to the investigators in this case, that Karen Read, a convenient outsider, was framed for the murder of Officer John O'Keefe. Jennifer McCabe, the woman who claims, I'm going to put a heavy emphasis on that claims because boy howdy, it's a lot of claiming going on right there. The defendant asked her at 6:23 in the morning to look up how long it takes someone to die of hypothermia. You know, because this grown woman doesn't have her own phone. When have you ever heard of a defendant being like, bro, can you look something up for me about how to commit a murder? Can you Google how to commit a murder for me? Can you check that for me? Can you Google it for me? Nobody does that. Who does that? Anyway, back to the opening statements. Jennifer McCabe is Brian Albert's sister-in-law. Brian Albert being the homeowner where the body was found. The Canton Police Department, because a police officer had been found on the lawn after a cop party, was smart enough to recuse themselves. Said, hey, we have a conflict of interest. There is a perceived conflict of interest here, so we're gonna step back and give this case to somebody else. Except, ladies and gentlemen, for all of the ways in which they did not, in point of fact, step away. Like the evidence collection. Some of the supposed witness interviews. Nope, didn't step away there. And so, instead of the non-biased Canton Police Department, wait, no, sorry, the biased Canton Police Department, they brought in Trooper Proctor. From the Massachusetts State Police is what I think they are. Which is an interesting person to bring in. Because, see, Trooper Proctor views the Alberts, or at least his mother, has referred to the Alberts as his second family. Is that the person that should be investigating a dead body found on the Alberts' front lawn? What the fuck? So, the Camden police still have their hands all over this case, and they were continually updated. Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, has deep ties to the Alberts family, gave updates to Kevin Albert, and never once investigated the home or the family, where a police officer was found dead on their lawn. In fact, a friend... Let me go back. So, Michael Proctor messages his friend telling him details about this case, a thing you are not supposed to do. You are not supposed to be messaging your bestie about a murder trial, Officer Proctor. But he did, from his private cell phone that he never thought the defense would get their hands on. And his friend said, wow, I bet the homeowner is going to catch a lot of grief. And Officer Proctor, Trooper Proctor, went, nope. Because the homeowner is a Boston police officer too. The prosecution talked for 45 minutes, and I never got a clear view of the timeline. I thought, because it's taken me so long to get this video out, about putting a little board up showing the prosecution's timeline. Here's the thing, it's just a bunch of squiggly lines all over the place. You can imagine it. They looped around on there. It was so confusing. The defense, though. The defense goes at... Let's see, hang on. At 2:12 a.m., Jennifer McCabe arrives home. At 2:22 a.m., Brian Albert, the homeowner, calls Brian Higgins, one of his close friends, At 2:22 a.m. and 17 seconds, Brian Higgins calls back Brian Albert, and they talk for 22 seconds. At 2:23 a.m., Jennifer McCabe climbs the stairs to her home, to her bedroom. At 2:27 a.m., Jennifer McCabe Googles how long to die in the cold. At 2:30 a.m., plow driver Brian Loughran confirms there was no body. At 3:30 a.m., that same snowplow driver sees a Ford Edge parked right next to where the body was found. I am 14 days into this case, and we will get there, but I don't have a time from the prosecution as to when they think John O'Keefe is dead. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know if they think John O'Keefe is dead. I mean, I would assume so, since they brought these charges, but they haven't used the word murder. He passed away. He died. He passed away. But not murder. Why are they dodging that word? The other question is, why are they dodging the word officer when they talk about John O'Keefe? Do they want to minimize the victim? This case is a mess. And I will be posting videos, I promise, more quickly, that talk about the solo cups of blood, the leaf blower of evidence collection, and these Stop and Shop bags that the evidence was placed in. So, next time, we'll start getting into some witnesses. I hope you come along for me. If you actually watch this, just put a hi down in the comments. This is my first crazy attempt, and I hopefully will be adding fancy things like editing and maybe eventually effects and putting in things. We will see. I hope to be putting this into podcast format because I know not all of you find YouTube accessible, as well as things like closed captionings. But for right now, for this video, I am just getting started. So I hope you will come along for me on this fun YouTube journey. I thank you guys for encouraging me to do this. And remember, I love you very much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.